Hey guys, welcome back to Yellow Church Chat. This week we're excited to bring Alvin Satcham. Alvin has quickly become one of the top agents in the country. He ranked 18th for all affiliate offices, and that's throughout the entire United States in October, and 11th in December in the entire United States. So we have a few questions for Alvin just to learn a little bit about him, what inspired him to get into the business, and to what does he attribute his success. So Alvin, what inspired you to get into the real estate business?
When I purchased my first home, I loved the process. I enjoyed it. I feel like I was the one who found my house. When I worked with the lender, I asked all the questions I needed to so that I could learn about it in a broader sense. And I was just complacent in my previous job, so it was something, I had motivations to do more in life than just that. Obviously make more money, but just the fact that I enjoyed real estate in general, I feel like that's why I jumped in. And I had my wife, who was pushing me to take the exam for a long time, and also Walter, who's one of our coworkers, introduced me to Hector.
Now, since you mentioned being complacent with your previous employer, that complacency, oftentimes leads to lack of motivation. So how do you now become motivated in real estate where you weren't motivated with your previous job? Like, can you explain that transition a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a little hard to explain. Obviously complacency is self-motivation as well as everything else, but I feel like I wasn't necessarily put in the positions that I could have been put in to be extremely successful in my previous career. Not necessarily having the right training, lack of certain things. Not that it was a bad job, just in general, but I think there was a lot of lack of structure in general. So, when I came into real estate, I was basically given all the keys to success, and I just had to put it in place.
That's good. Oftentimes, it's basically what it is. It's finding the right fit for you, whatever it is. And we can certainly attest to Alvin's work ethic because, which leads me to my next question is, how many hours a week do you say that you spend in real estate?
I don't know that there's a cap, because even if I'm home at 9, 10 o'clock, I'm constantly looking up properties for a client or thinking outside the box of how we can find them exactly what they're looking for. And, just conversations with you, I think I speak to you sometimes till 12 o'clock at night. So I don't think there's a cap on the hours I spend in real estate. I work 7 days a week, and we do try to put it aside at certain points and enjoy certain things, whether that's golf or something else. So, but I would say it's endless hours.
So since you mentioned golf, so what is it that you do outside of real estate to help you kind of maintain that focus and not be so hard on yourself? Spend time.
I think doing things you love and enjoy, which comes along with spending time with my wife, my dog, my family, friends. Golf is one of the biggest things. I feel like you have to kind of put it aside completely and just free up your mind for a few hours, whether that's 3-4 hours, going out to dinner, going to have some drinks, going to play some golf, whatever that is, whatever you enjoy. Those are things that I enjoy. So I think that's really important, because then you can kind of just completely take your mind off of it, because it does get stressful. We're basically babysitters once we have houses under contract, so it can become pretty stressful.
It can, and one of the things about real estate that I learned 80 years ago was that everyone is nice until you're dealing with this much money. It is the biggest purchase, unless someone's buying a yacht or otherwise, but it is one of the biggest purchases and biggest financial decisions of their lives.
Yeah, which is reasonable and understandable.
So it definitely becomes very stressful, and oftentimes we take on that person's stress and we try to filter it as much as possible so it's not as stressful for them. Alvin, can you tell us, to what do you attribute your success? Do you have a good support system at home? A strong clientele, big network?
I don't think there's one thing in specific that I can attribute my success to. Obviously, my wife is very supportive. I do put a lot of hours in, and it does take a lot of time away from, time that I could be spending with her after hours and so forth. There's times where we have dates planned and I have to leave in the middle just to go show a house. So I think, she's very supportive of everything that I've been doing. She supported me when I told her I was going to quit my full-time job and jump into real estate, which I think for anybody that's pretty amazing, because I wasn't going to have a stable job, steady income. So, in that sense, she was extremely supportive. But I feel like where I am in Weichert, after I met with you, I think one of the major questions I asked you was, do I need a part-time job? And you told me, no. He said, you told me you think I'll be fine. And I have been ever since. So I think, the structure that you give us, everything that you've taught me, I speak to you about 20 times a day on the phone. So everything that I've learned from you has just translated. You're obviously one of the top producers in the Tampa Bay area. So it was easy for me to buy in and feed into everything that you told us. And I think I kind of follow that on a daily basis. So I'd say structure is, very important. I get a lot of support within Weichert itself. Obviously from you, people like Walter, people like Ed, provide the mental support that you need with it as well.
And you do need a lot of it, and that's the key. You do have to be very self-motivated in real estate, number
Right.
one, but number two is having that support system. Family is the most important because you're going to be out of the house a lot,
Right.
and you're going to be working a lot, and you know, I found myself like in that sort of situation where, you know, I've been told that I'm there but I'm not present, right? And it's true. It's real estate. You know, it's a sacrifice that we make for something that we love to do. But it is the reality of it is, you know, we're very, very busy. Fortunately, you know, we've got a situation where we don't necessarily have to do a lot of the paperwork portion of it. So at least it takes, you know, those hours away from us where we focus more on the relationships and you know, which leads me to my next question is, when you got into real estate, did you have a pretty good amount in savings? Because 87% of agents, new agents, do not renew within the first licensing period. You know, or did you just say, I have to make sure that I succeed and there's nothing but success in my future?
I feel like a pretty good amount in savings is very subjective to what the person is.
Yeah.
So, but I felt like I had enough to cover myself for, you know, I don't know, up to a year maybe. It was all dependent. I was pretty good with saving money, but I wasn't relying upon it because I always feel like you should have money, so I've never wanted to deplete it.
Right.
So there's always money you need for, you know, emergencies and so forth. But, you know, it's kind of like a leap of faith, you know, whatever happens, happens. But I feel like putting myself in that type of position was one of the big factors of success as well, because there was no other choice. Like, it was either succeed or not make any money.
Yeah.
And then have to change careers again.
So it's fight or flight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that sort of situation where you're backed into a corner. And you know, the one thing that, you know, we also always discuss is it's all about relationships. So you build a relationship. Do not worry about money. You know, at the end of the day, you'll get taken care of, and everything else will follow. But as long as you treat people right, you're going to get the referrals. You're going to get the repeat business. And again, I can certainly attest to doing this for a long time. I didn't have a lot of money in savings when I started, and had, you know, a pretty good amount of bills on my own, and you know, we were able to succeed. So it can be done as long as you treat people right, you do the right thing constantly. So you started in June and you closed your first transaction by July. How did you do that?
Well, I was able to close my first transaction in a month of doing real estate. Just basically following the process that we do with everyone that we come in. You know, our first goal is to just get in front of them, meet them, build a relationship with them, work on it. And it was a mother and daughter that I was working with, and I built a pretty good relationship with them both, and they trusted me through the process. And that was it. It was basically building a relationship. I didn't necessarily know too much about real estate at the time, like barely anything. And you know, I was on the phone with you probably 10 times a day through that transaction, but I learned as I went on. And I think one of the most important things is real estate is just kind of, you know, making sure you're learning as you're going and not just guessing on things. So, you know, and that's one of the most important things to my success as well, because I was able to have those conversations with you and learn as I was going. So I was able to provide them with all the information they needed. It was one of their first times ever purchasing a home on their own. So me being able to provide them with that type of information and educating them through the process, they really trusted me. And, you know, luckily I closed my first deal in a month.
No, that was really impressive. So you went from closing your first deal a month after, second deal a couple months after, and then you had what, 4 or 5 closings in October?
4 in October and 5 in December.
And 5 in December, which is really, really impressive. I mean, that means you're out there putting into work, building the relationships, you know, building that trust with people, because if they don't trust you, they're not going to work with you. What is one tip you would give to any new agents who wants to be a top agent in the country?
So I would say the number one thing, and it doesn't necessarily have to do anything with yourself, it's about making sure you're working for the right brokerage, because at the end of the day, you want to work with somebody who's going to be willing to teach you, help you learn throughout every process, because every transaction is different. So sitting in a classroom isn't necessarily going to provide you with what you need on a daily basis. So you need to have a broker who's accessible, who can teach you everything from ground up. You want to learn from somebody who's already successful in the business. And my thing is, I truly try to learn from everybody who's successful, whether that's you. I relied on Walter heavily because he was already successful for a couple of years. He and I worked together prior to, so it's just a learning experience. So I would say the number one thing when you start is just to find the right fit and the right brokerage that's going to provide you with that type of stuff, provide you with leads, provide you with knowledge. And then everything else is, you know, following basically, you know, the process. So for me, it was just, you know, making sure I'm constantly doing the work activities every single day and following up with people. And most importantly, like we did already discussed, relationships. Real estate is about selling homes, but at the end of the day, whether somebody buys a home 1 month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, it doesn't matter to me. Just as long as I've built a relationship with them, they're gonna refer me to their family, their friends, everybody, and they're gonna know that I did all I could to take care of them. So my most important thing is just building a friendship with everybody that I work with, and I feel like I've done that so far.
All right. So what is one thing that you would tell someone? So you're going to have the public watching you. They're going to know you're one of the top agents in the country. Why should they work with you?
Just in general, I think it goes back to my last answer. I'm not pressuring anybody to buy a house. I'm here to figure out what your goals are and how can I help you achieve that in the time frame that you want to achieve it. So it doesn't have to be now. It doesn't have to be next year. Whenever you're ready, that's fine with me. And I would say that's one of my biggest keys to success when I meet with people. It's literally just going out and learning you, getting to know you, and how I can help you achieve your goals. At the end of the day, it's not about the money. The money follows with everything, but you know, I'm just here to help you achieve your goals. So whatever that is, we can sit down, we can talk about it, and then figure out, set up a plan, create how we can accomplish it, and take our time to get it done. And whether, I think also, you know, working with you, I do have your background is in finance, so I get an extensive background in finance as well. So I do know the market. I know what I can provide to you as a buyer, you as a seller. I can present you with that, but the most important thing to me is just relationship. Let's figure out how we can help you achieve your goal.
Alvin, we definitely appreciate your responses there. Since you mentioned the finance side, we do want to touch on the latest CPI numbers that were just published. So month over month, we increased 0.4%, primarily based on shelter prices, and that's a 6% annualized over the last 12 months. As a result of that, what happened is the 10-year treasury slightly increased. We've got the whole banking situation that's happened right now in the Silicon Valley area. So you have offsetting measures in terms of, you know, fluctuating interest rates. It has been super volatile the last few days. So we'll probably continue to see some of that. We do still see in our area inventory decreasing. We don't see prices plummeting, unfortunately, despite the fact that rates are higher. Alvin, anything else you want to address the public with before we close out?
No, I think I pretty much, you know, touched on all the basis of my success and keys to my success. So, you know, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week. You can hit like, follow, and subscribe for more.
And make sure you click on that notification bell for more Yellow Chair Chat.